Hi there! Today I'm going to show you 3 different methods of hemming jersey. I'm going to show you the methods using a regular sewing machine and an overlocker and a mixture of both. And I'm going to show the techniques also on a heavier weight jersey and a lighter weight jersey. And while I'm showing you, I'll talk through the pros and cons of each method on each type of jersey. So the first method I'm going to show you is twin needling, which is a really neat finish. It gives you 2 rows of straight stitching on the outside of your hem. It does take a little bit more setting up than the other methods that I'm going to show you, but it is a nice professional finish. So the first thing you need to do is to buy a twin needle, and it is just worth referring to your manual to check if there's any specific requirements on needle sizes and widths. You will also need to refer to your manual for setting up, and probably the more advanced your machine is, the more setup is going to be involved. But this is quite a basic model, so really all I've got to do on my machine here is to add the extra spool pin for the second reel of thread and thread as normal. So I'm going to show you these methods, like I said, on 2 different fabrics. So I've got my lighter weight jersey here, and then I've got a French terry here, and what I've done already is I've just overlocked the edge and I've turned and pressed a 2.5 centimetre hem. So with the twin needling we're going to be stitching from the outside, and there'll be a zigzag stitch on the back which I'm aiming to cover the overlock. It's not 100% necessary to overlock it. You can leave it raw because generally speaking jersey fabric doesn't fray, but I just think it looks a neater finish. So if you're doing a small length or you're feeling quite confident, you probably can go ahead and stitch with just a pressed edge. If you want a bit more security because you're working on the face with turning on the back, you could tack this, but I'm going to go ahead and just stitch it with no tacking. But before you start, it's probably worth running a little test bit and just checking which grid lines up best to get your stitching in the right place on the back. So I've already done that, and I've found that this grid line works best for me, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch this on both fabrics and show you how that looks. So there we go, 2 finished hems, so really neat on both sides. You can see the zigzag stitch just goes through the overlocking, so keeping it really neat, and it's worked equally successfully on the lighter weight fabric as it has the heavier weight fabric. Just one last thing to mention, that it is worth having a good quality thread for this technique, because you can find twin needles often miss stitches, and one of the problems with missed stitches is generally poor quality thread. So this next method I'm going to show you is super simple and easy to set up. So what I'm going to do is zigzag stitch along the raw edge. So to set up this technique, all I need to do is to make sure I've got a jersey or ballpoint needle appropriate to the weight of fabric that I'm sewing, and then turn the machine to a zigzag stitch. So I've got an average length stitch of 2, but I've got a stitch width of 4 on this machine, so that my aim is to stitch one side of the zigzag off the raw edge and then one side onto the the actual hem, so basically covering the raw edge as I go. And we're not working blind this time, so we can see where we're going, but I still have tried to cut it nice and straight so that we can follow a gauge and make sure it looks nice on the outside. So let me show you this technique. So there we go, finished hem, the right side and the wrong side, both looking really, really neat. And that's the lighter weight jersey. Obviously with this method you can place pins in, which I didn't do, but it will hold your hem in place while you're sewing. And that's the back of the French terry. So the nice thing about this for heavier weight fabrics is it almost beds the seam in. It makes a really nice neat finish on a thicker fabric. So once that's pressed, that will look really nice and neat. So for this last method I'm going to use the overlocker, and I do actually have a video about this method in a little bit more depth here on my YouTube channel if you wanted to watch that. But basically I've prepared the hem in exactly the same way. So I've turned a 2.5 hem and I've left this edge raw. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to disengage the knife of the overlocker because I don't want to cut this raw edge, and I'll show you how I fold it in a second. So you may need to just refer to your user manual how you do that. But then I'm going to turn back the raw edge so that the fabric is folded, is concertinaed. So I've got another folded edge here, and basically I'm now going to stitch that folded edge. But by removing the knife, it avoids the risk of cutting this folded edge if you did need to unpick for any reason. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that. So there we have it. So you stitch that, and now on the outside you have almost like a false hemband. So this one actually works better on the lighter weight fabrics because you can press this and it's not too bulky. But another really nice finish you can do is to just top stitch the overlocked edge upwards along there, and if your garment is relying on the stretch, then it's probably best to do that with a zigzag stitch as well. So I've gone ahead and pressed these hems just to show you how they look. So this is the overlocked hem on the French terry, the front side and the back, and the overlocked hem on the lighter weight jersey and the back, and the zigzag stitch hem on the French terry and the reverse, and the lighter weight, actually that's the reverse, that's the face, and finally the twin needle on the lighter weight jersey, and on the French terry. So 3 different methods that you can try on when you're hemming jersey garments. So I hope you found that useful, and if you'd like to see more videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.